Hello everyone and welcome to Seek and Transcend, your health and wellness channel. My name is Donna Webb and I have been a lifestyle coach for over 15 years and a fitness and wellness coach for over 25 years, a nutrition coach for about the same, and I am also a third-degree black belt. So I wanted to share that quickly with you, but if you'd like more information about me, you can go to seekandtranscend.com and get more information. Today we are going to discuss the more mental aspect of being a human being in the process of change. And I have done a channel talk about change in a more mindful way, in a less painful way, and being proactive in change. Today I want to discuss change that maybe we didn't ask for, or maybe we weren't prepared for, or maybe we have been resisting. And what I like to call that is the implosion. And everyone would be able to relate to this experience. An implosion in your life that creates such a traumatic shift in who you are as a being, physically, mentally, and how you see the world. And this is not typically something we're prepared for. And sometimes we can be prepared for it, but it still creates that same effect on us. So the implosion happens, and then I want to discuss what happens next, which would be where you are in shock, there's a shift, there's transformation that's taking place, and you feel out of sorts. You're not really quite sure who you are anymore. You don't even know what the new norm is or what it's going to be. Then we move into the next step, and that's the healing process. And then we rebuild and reinvent ourselves and create the new norm from that implosion that initially seemed like the worst thing that could possibly happen to us. So let's discuss this. The implosion happens when you have a health risk, or someone close to you has a health risk. And it opens your eyes to the fact that you've got to do something different in your life to take better care of yourself. An implosion would be getting into an accident. 1 minute you're going one way, going about your business in life, and then the next minute, not so much. Everything has come to a halt, and either yourself or someone has been involved in an accident, something that was totally unforeseen, and then that implosion happens in your life. An implosion could be when you lose someone close to you, whether you saw it coming or whether you didn't. It's still a very huge event in your life. So the implosion is a huge event in your life that you have no choice but to shift and grow and change. And it's in that time that when the implosion happens that we automatically move into the shift and we don't even realize it. And that is that state of shock that we are in, where we are numb and we really don't even know how to engage or interact in life at this point in time, nor do we necessarily want to. It could be also if it were an accident or something where we were injured, where we are sedated and pretty unaware of what's happening. And this is when the shift is happening. And I really feel like the brain knows that us as human beings can't really handle the powerful energy surge that we experience at that time, and puts us in that state to protect us. because we're going from A to Z in who we are and how we look at the world. And typically human beings are more comfortable going from A to B, B to C, making those small little shifts and changes, and we can handle that. But when we have these huge shifts, this is when we typically go into shock and are not really ourselves at that point in time, because we aren't. We are someone else. We are shifting to somebody else. That's the transformation taking place. As we come out of that transformation and that shift, we move into the healing process. And the healing process can, depending on what the situation is, depending on how big of a shift took place in you as an individual, will depend on the length of time. But this is typically where we are coming out of shock and we're more aware of ourselves and our surroundings and the people in our lives and how they're interacting with us. Typically, this is when people will show compassion and empathy and will put a great deal of energy towards you and healing you, and want to offer support, want to bring you meals, whatever the case may be. And it's in this process that we are starting to ask ourselves, now what? What does this all mean? And who am I? And it may be a very emotional place to be. It more than likely is a very scary place to be. It's also a very awkward place to be because you're not one place or the other. You're shifting from one place to another. So you're in transformation. And this is when you start to wonder, compared to your life before, what is your life going to look like now? Then when we move out of that state and we start moving into the rebuilding or the reinventing of ourselves, this is when we're still healing, but we're stronger. And we've spent a great deal of time in inner reflection, and especially if we have spent some time alone, which typically happens, you want to kind of retreat. It's a normal thing for animals to do when they're injured, and that's to go into retreat till we're stronger and less vulnerable. And spending time in this period of inner reflection and healing, we start to think about, now what, in what direction are we going? Who are we? What do we want? And this is when the reinvention takes place. And this is where we start to redefine who we are as human beings and how we're going to interact in the world. This might involve completely moving to another location. It might involve a totally different job. It could involve maybe completely walking away from a relationship. So typically the reinvention is huge because you've had this huge implosion and you are completely shifted and redefining yourself. So in this, there is a tremendous amount of opportunity for growth. Typically, we do not go back, and I don't think that we're capable of going back to that place that we were before the implosion happened. I don't think it exists anymore. That place no longer exists. It's not even an option for us. Now, it's not to say if you had a health scare, maybe you go back to eating the same way, but you're still not the same person that you were. You're going to look at things differently, and you'll start to feel a lot of resistance in going back to your old habits because it will no longer fit with you. It just won't feel comfortable anymore. It'll be like putting on a pair of somebody else's shoes and they just don't fit you right. So now you've shifted and now you're rebuilding and you're going into the reinvention phase. And this is when we create our new selves. And this is an amazing opportunity through this whole process, because we're so raw, we're so open. It's an amazing opportunity to create the life that you want and create who you want. And during this rebuilding phase, this is when meditation and spending time manifesting, specifically manifesting what we want in our lives, how we want to feel, how we want to look, how we want to interact with the world. This is a very powerful time to do this. And if you have the wherewithal to do that and understand that all of this is a natural process that we're going through, and realize that there's segments of our lives, and being mindful in the segments of your life and the segments that are taking place, at each segment being mindful and realizing, okay, I'm here, I just had this implosion, it's okay not to react, it's okay just to be. And then when you move into the shifting and the transformation and the healing part, realizing that it's okay to feel a little awkward, to feel a little out of place. Don't feel like yourself, because you're not yourself anymore. And if you understand that that's just a natural process from what's just happened in your world, it's a little easier to go through and digest and be at peace with. I have a story. I always have a story, don't I? I have a story about this very thing. I have reinvented myself many, many times. I can't tell you how many times I have started over in life. And one of the reasons why I've started over in life so many times is not because I quit. It's because of these implosions. I am the kind of person that gives 110% of my psyche, of my emotions, everything about me into a relationship, into a commitment that I've made, into a career choice that I've made. And when I do that, I typically put everything in one basket, because to me, if you have a plan B, that means you're not really confident in the decision that you're making, in the direction that you're heading, in the choice that you've just made. And for me, it motivates me. It lights a little fire on me. This is what I got. This is what I got. So I made the decision to do this, and I'm going to head straight into it, and I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it work. The downside to that, if you want to call it a downside, is that when it's time for that not to work in my life, or when it's time for things to shift, I typically have an implosion. I've had lots of implosions, and I know this so well, this process so well, that here I go again. And as I get older, I wonder, I'm pretty good at this, and I'm pretty good at working through it and navigating through it, but I'm like, do I want to continue having these implosions in my life? Do I want to continue starting over? Do I want to have a plan B? And that doesn't work for me. That's just me. So here we go. My story is, one of my stories, I have many, but one of my stories is that I had to have a total hip replacement. Now, mind you, I have been in the health and fitness industry for 25 plus years. I have made an income moving and teaching classes and training. I was a martial arts instructor, so I taught Taekwondo. So I was always on the floor kicking and punching and demonstrating, and loved it. Obviously, that's why I've been doing it as long as I've been doing it. But I wore a part out. And I thought I had a torn labrum, but I found out that I need a complete hip replacement. So it was an implosion, because it is a very lengthy healing process. And I am in about 2.5 months into it. And my doctor has told me I have unrealistic expectations in how quickly I should be healing. Fortunately for me, I'm young and very healthy, so I'm healing a lot faster than others. But there was the implosion. All of a sudden, I could no longer kick and punch. I was not teaching my fitness classes. I'm not training. And I'm at home. And I have this healing process that I must go through and must be very patient with. And I am now approaching the 3-month mark and starting to feel more like myself. But I'm inching into the rebuilding phase. And as I do that, I went through the whole process of the shift and the transformation. And when I went through that, I thought, I need to create something that's non-physical for my future. So I need to get creative, and I need to come up with something that taps into the gifts and the talents and the knowledge that I have, and something that even with an injury I could do. And so I have started Donna's Delights, which is a gluten-free, protein-infused baked goods company. And in my previous talks, I talk about how that came about. And that is something where I create this dough that I have been working on for years and years and years to get it just right. And I take it to a bakery, they bake it up, and then I deliver or ship. And so I'm in the building process of that. It's going really well. I have some great clients lined up, and that is heading in the direction that it needs to head. Then I also said, this is the perfect time for me to start this YouTube channel that I've been thinking about. I have all of these stories, all of these experiences, and I am very passionate about health and wellness, have been my entire life, and I've gained a lot of knowledge along the way, and I thought this is a perfect vehicle for me to share, because at the very core of my being, I am a teacher. Everything that I take on, I end up sharing with somebody else. It's just who I am. And so I thought this is a perfect opportunity for me to share the knowledge that I have. So this was the rebuild. This is the reinvention. So this is why we are here with this Seek and Transcend Health and Wellness channel. And it is a time for me to build the coaching aspect without the physicality, to share the knowledge, to motivate, to inspire, to educate, and help my community, my world, whomever I reach, hopefully to be the best version of themselves. And in doing so, me being the best version of myself. I hope that you enjoyed this talk. I hope you got something from it. Feel free to leave comments. I also have an Instagram account called Seek and Transcend. You can find me there and you can leave comments there. I look forward to being with you again. Have an amazing day.